Hello, YouTubes. Welcome back to Campaign Terrain. I'm your host, That Guy Cross. Welcome to the basement. Yeah, gonna jump right into it this week. I don't really have any weirdness I've been doing this week. I've basically been working on the role-playing game I'm writing and planning for this week's build with the sales and stuff. So I'm gonna pretty much jump right into that. I need to, oops. Sorry. Forgot to turn my volumes down. Give me just a second, because otherwise, somebody's invariably going to text in the middle of it. Give me just a second. And then we'll jump into it. Now, as last week, no, that's wrong grammar. Last week, as you recall, I was talking about whether or not I would be using chopsticks or barbecue skewers bamboo skewers for the yardarms. And I've looked at some pictures, and I will be using the skewers because they don't need to be all that thick, especially as these are not really going to ever get like a lot of pressure on them or anything like that. Invariably, I'll end up snapping one of these days. But on the other hand, I've got a lot of skewers, so that shouldn't be a problem. So let's go through the normal stuff. I'm going to go with the top-down thing here, show you my patrons, and then I will jump into, y'all seem to enjoy things I've brought to craft with and that sort of thing. So I'll go through that as well, but right afterwards. But let's get to the top here real quick. Okay, so these are my patrons. Your name could be here. Digital Calibrator, that's my friend DC. She actually comes over and helps with the stuff sometimes like the audio and video, in addition to supporting me financially. Huge shout out to her. Patrick Walther, that's Hacksaw of Hacksaw's Hobby Bunker, so go watch his channel, give it a shot. Dungeon Matron, that's Lisa. Lisa appears with Carl and Kim. Carl is of Carl Make Stuff, and Kim is of Questboard Terrains, and all three of them together do a thing called Just Flocking With You, and that's on Wednesdays. That's a YouTube channel, so go check that out. So Carl Makes Stuff, Questboard Terrain, and specifically Just Flocking With You. Now, Lisa also has a Discord where a lot of us like to hang out and talk about crafting stuff. So in the down belows, where I'm pointing now, if you can see it, there's a link to Lisa's Discord down there as well. So go to Dungeon Matron's Machinations. Solo Nick has two channels. One is Solo Nick. That's where he does crafting, like kind of what we're doing here. And also has a Man About Town channel called Climbing Moss. Mia Geeked, that's Pepper, and Mia/Pepper has a channel of her own, but has not been on it in a while. So you can also catch her sometimes on Shadows of Arconia over on Twitch. That's a channel where they play tabletop games together. All right, so let me switch the slide on. I never remember to do it before switching. Okay, there, big light, flashlight. All right, and now let me switch to this side one over here. Okay, now we can get around to the crafting. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you're seeing this live, comment after the fact, hit refresh. If you're watching this from the future, go ahead and leave a comment. All that stuff drives the algorithm, and I'd really appreciate it. I'm not trying to be the world's richest YouTuber, but a few more people watching would be nice. Share, like, and subscribe, and comment. Thank you. Okay, so as you remember last week, I was making all these boxes, and they came in handy because I had a bunch of stuff to put in this week. It's been a really strange week for getting lots of stuff. Not forgetting, for getting lots of stuff. I got another meat tray, like the one I had last week. I'll actually put that with it. Those need to go in another room. We've got a whole stack of these. Those are useful for all sorts of creative stuff. I've got a thing that was used for holding like plastic dental picks. And I've had it floating around in my stuff for years. And so I came across the other day. I'm like, I'll put that with my other junk. And it may or may not ever get used. Oh, this is a piece of packaging from, if I recall correctly, these were labels for the old 3.5-inch diskettes. So if you know what I'm talking about, go take your ibuprofen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're better off. All right, I got a plastic bag, and there's another one somewhere. Oh, I already moved it. So 2 plastic bags. You can always use those for whatever. My little case I carry in my pocket, I've got quite a few things this week. I've got a piece of carpet. I don't know what I will use this green thing for, but it will get turned into some kind of like creepy vine or something. I've got some more of those stickers that I said that I slice into little thin strips. Thermal print stickers are really useful if you cut them in little thin strips for things like the rings around barrels and stuff, because the paper is really thin, so you can build it up in layers as thick or as thin as you want. I've also got a bunch of more, I call them bread ties, but they're not actually for bread. These are actually potato ties, but you get what I mean. And so those can go with my other ones I've got in my drawer over yonder, which I will someday use for things. Okay, sticker goes over there. I got a whole stack of them. Like I said, I like to carry a little box around in my pocket so I can collect stones, moss, whatever, when I find it. This is a piece of metal mesh that never got used for its original purpose. This is from an auto parts store, and it is, I think, aluminum. Let me see if a magnet sticks to this. Yep, that's aluminum. Aluminium for the majority of the world. And this can be used for modeling, and then you put like paper mache or something over it. It's actually for fixing auto bodies. You put this on to build up the body, and then you can hit this with the epoxy that you use for filling out dents and things like that. So that I came across. I'm like, well, I'll use that for sculpting something sometime. You can also, I don't know if you can see, there's a mesh weave to it that's like a diamond shape. You can also cut these little squares and use them for windows, like I did earlier on the ship build for those windows on the doors on the deck and the back windows of the captain's quarters, which you'll actually see both of those again in a minute, because I am going to have the deck here in a minute. Spice bottle, always good for putting flock and stuff like that in. Various packaging, use those for all sorts of things. Oh yeah, soap dispenser, had one go empty, and it's one of the, it was a specialty one. There's no point in refilling it. And so I'm going to dissect this for the components that are inside here at some point. One of my bright ass flashlights, I'm not going to turn it on for you because, well, bright ass flashlight. Technically, it's a bright head flashlight, but if anybody who knows me, there's not much difference between my butt and my head. Yeah, so that can all go away. Somebody gave me a bunch more toilet paper rolls. I have boxes of toilet paper cores and have no idea what to do with them. I mean, I can make individual little things here and there, but if you have any ideas for something where I can use up, like, I am not kidding, like 100 of these real quick, that'd be nice. Also, somebody had a bunch of aluminum foil that was already balled up. They had just, anyway. And so I'll use that for texturing things. So that actually can stay out. And the rest of this can go over out of the way for a moment. Okay, one last thing that I was given this week, or actually swiped, but nobody's going to mind. A friend of mine got some flowers. And so I have this big, long, sturdy box. No idea. It will end up either being used to hold things that are long, and in which case I'll probably cut off the top flap just so it's an open tray, or this may be something that I use for verticality on a build at some point. I have no idea. No idea. So that's everything that I've gotten, that I've absconded with or been given this week. All right, let's jump into this. All right, so let's start with the sails first, and then I will talk about the yardarms. So we will put those there for the yardarm discussion. That's drill bits. That's part of the yardarm. I was looking through it, and I don't have anything tan. I was wanting something that looked like canvas or light brown or something like that. Kelly Lynn was first, loosely collected, says howdy. Use them to start plants and then plant some boxes and pots on your porch deck patio. The stalks? Use the the toilet paper cores. That's a thought. I've been thinking. The problem is our HOA is so. There's no nice way to word it. So fascistic here. I would have to put planters on legs that sit so that the planter is not very deep, so that they sit right at the same height as the top bar of our railing on the deck. If they can see the legs and don't mistake them for parts of the railing, they will complain that we're growing things on the lot, even though it's not a permanent built-in. It's horrible. This HOA is just garbage. Most HOAs are just garbage, but this one specifically. So, and not me. They don't know me, but they have it out for my housemate. So, yeah, I don't know. I might do something. If I can figure out some place to put vegetables, I will try to grow something. But yes, using the toilet paper course to do that would be a good okay. So where was I? No tan fabric. That's what it was. I don't have any canvas fabric. I don't have anything that looks like canvas or a brown muslin or anything like that. So I've got white. I literally have no idea where these came from. I have never worn a white shirt. I have one that's like, was a radio station gimme that I wore in like the, oh my gosh, early 90s. And don't wear, I just don't wear white, ever. I have no idea where these cut up chunks of thing came out of. Now, I buy lots of crafting stuff for lots of different hobbies, so it's possible that these were literally in a bag of a literal rag bag collection somewhere. I do know what I use them for, and what I use them for is I use them as paint blotcher things when I want to wipe stuff up or whatever, and they end up being almost uniformly colored all the way across. Now, these top ones have a bunch too much blue and like splotchy, so I can't use those. But I have thought about using like these as like this as sails. Now, I'm going to be keeping my sails furled anyway, so I actually think I could probably get away with using these ones with the blue on them because that would be sort of in the center of the sail. But I've got like 6 or 7 of these, so I could use other ones. I have this sort of, it looks to me more like a market stall top than a sail, but I know that Viking sails a lot of times had striped patterns, things like that. So I could use that, but it's literally the only striped fabric I have, and it's a little bit wide for the scale. When you look at the size of a person, that's like, you know, a 3 or 4 foot wide band of color. So maybe not this one. If I can find some fabric with narrower stripes, I might go for some stripes. I do have a lovely burgundy sort of old dead t-shirt, and unfortunately it is t-shirt material, which means all the edges want to crinkle up. But since I am furling my sails anyway and tying them up, I'm thinking that that might actually work, and burgundy might be a nice royal regal color. But I could always make a third set because I'm planning on making a light colored set, like probably this or this if it's tea dyed or coffee dyed, or I could do something, and then I plan on doing, and this is the ones I'll be working with tonight, is, let me put these out of the way. I don't have an out of the way to put them. Oh, there we go. I wear a lot of black clothes, so I have some black, and I have this other black, and I have this other black. Now, this is silk, and this is silk from 2 old shirts I used to have. Not the same silk. Then I have this sort of stretchy, almost t-shirt material. Then I have a sort of fake silk from another old shirt I used to have, which is right here. No, that's more of that, which is here. Then I have some raw silk, which came from a different old shirt, actually an old pair of pants. So I've got some raw silk in black. Then I've got yet another silky fabric that's stretchy though. That's not the same as that one. And I've got this raw silk, which is not the same raw silk, but I'm still going to put those together. And then just for fun, I have a pair of cotton pants that are old and the elastics. Anyway, I can cut those up. So what I am probably going to use is, I don't feel like stretching out a whole pair of pants and cutting it up right now, so I'm going to set that off the side. These are the ones I want to use. So what I'm probably going to use is this sort of smooth silk as opposed to raw silk right now. So these are probably going to be my sails for the night. So raw silk, smooth, silky, but not actual silk. So we will put that with that one and that one, because those are all similar. And then those can go on top of the actual raw silk. And then the smooth silk that I'm not using can go with that. And there we go. Okay. Sorry, little guy. You're going to have to scooch. All right. Now, these are the skewers I'm planning on using. These are really generic expert grill for all of the amateur people that don't know how to stab meat through, Anyway, so this size, if you look, okay, my scale is 1/48. D&D scale is 1/60th, but that's based on space and size, not the actual size of the mini. So, presuming that this is 1/48, his feet are 3.5 feet apart at basically his big toes. So he's kind of standing straddled out. So just to give you an example, that's actually making the shaft of his halberd here about 3 or 4 inches thick. That's a thick weapon. Giggity. So you can see that in scale, this thingamy, the skewer, is pretty hefty. So it's also fairly sturdy. So these are going to be my yardarms. Hey, Cleric, how you doing? So far we have talking so far. I've had a couple other people pop in and pop out. Got Callie Lynn, Loosely Collected, and Cleric of Cleric's Creations. Go check out his channel. He does lots of really cool stuff and has giveaways. So go check that out. Yep, glad to have you. All right, so I am going to be taking these and tying them to this in a manner that looks like sails. Toward that, I need to get something that looks like ropes. And in scale, I have found that, where did they go? Oh, don't tell me I can't find them. Oh, I can't find my main box of them, but here's some that are free floating. These are the strings that come on tea bags. And conveniently, they've already been dyed sort of tea colored by being in my mug of tea. So these are going to look like really good ropes, especially when I contrast them across these black sails. So that's going to look really cool. Now, in scale, I'm literally using 1 strand of tea bag string as my ropes. That's pretty sturdy, and I'm not going to be like really tugging on these. And once they're in place, they're not going to be under a great deal of stress. You could also use flock, not flock. What's the word I'm looking for? The stuff for cross stitch and such. Floss. That's it. I knew it wasn't flock, but it was close. Use cross stitch floss and stuff like that as well. And you can get that in like 9,000 colors. So whatever color you want your ropes, good to go. So that are going to be, because grammar, that is going to be my rope facsimile. Now, I need to show you the decks of my ships again so you can see what we're working with. Okay, I have to have... Oh, no! Okay. Let's get this out of the way. I need all 3 of these decks to make these stand up so you can see what I'm working with here. So I've got that one, and that one, and that one. Okay, so since that is what my masts are going to look like on my ship, you can't really see all of it. Let's see if I can tilt that up without getting too much of the shaky cam going on. Okay, so these I thought were a little tall, but then I've looked at some ships and they are not all that tall. Let me get this to where it's stopping moving for a second. Stop. Okay, and I have a picture to show you right here. And you can see on this that the yardarms are not super thick compared to the mast. Now, my masts are oversized for scale, but they're the dowels I had available. So once again, I am accidentally over-engineering because I seem to do that. Ask anybody. And so I need yardarms to go across here. Now the yardarms, I have no idea how they're attached. I think they have a wooden peg inside them that holds them in place long enough to lash them, and then they are lashed with ropes, like these black lines that are under here. Not sure on that. I also said that I would have to build like a crow's nest or something like that. If you see this disc right here, this is where a lot of the rigging that holds the masts upright is going. But since these need to be removable, I can only sort of play at that. So I will have some rings that attach to this at some point. They will have fakey railing, or fakey rigging that hangs from them, and I will literally just be sitting that on the sides of the ship, and so it will just sort of hang like this and be pretending to be my rigging. Since these need to be able to come off, those pieces need to not actually attach. So I will devise something that just sort of rests on the side of the ship at some point. That's not tonight's worry. So I need to figure out how to attach these to the masts in a manner that will be removable, because there's no point in taking this off to store it if it's still this wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create little ringlets of metal that are going to be shaped something like, hold on, let me grab a piece of cardboard here so I can draw on it, that are going to be shaped something like, this is the yardarm, and the pieces of wire are going to be shaped something like this. Here's the yardarm, and the wire is going to be shaped like this, and then I'm going to lash those here with some string and some glue to hold those in place. This will then hang on some kind of hook attached to the mast. How I'm going to do that exactly, I don't know. It will probably literally just be an L-shaped piece of metal stuck into the mast. I'm going to have to move this camera back down because I constantly am doing stuff down in this area. And if I'm doing that and the camera's not in this area, y'all will never see it. Okay, so that is my idea for how to attach the yardarms. I need to figure out how long to make the yardarms. That's pretty easy. I'm going to basically do them as wide as the ship. So I'm going to take this and lay it here and take a pair of nippers and nip that about there. And that is close enough. Now, a couple weeks ago, if you remember, I said that on this mast, I was only going to have a yardarm at the top and not one lower down, because I didn't want to interfere with the vision of whomever is piloting the ship. And then I remembered that my little guys are only this tall. So I'm going to easily be able to get two sets of sheets here. Not sets of sheets, two sheets here. Yeah. I drew dots on the other two masts to show what elevation to put those at. And that's going to be basically where my little hole that I drill in for that hook is going to be, is at these two levels. And that will hold a sheet right here and right here. Now, keep in mind, I'm making these furled, so they're going to be curled up. They're not going to be open, because this ship's always going to be at port. I have no real desire to make this so it can be, in a battle at sea or whichever. So now, I do have a problem in that I colored on these with markers because I am dumb. And now I am not drilling holes this direction, because this is designed to go across the ship. And there's a slight bend right here. And so this kind of needs to go in one way. And these holes will now be on the sides of the mast. So basically, I'm literally going to take a knife and scrape those off. And hopefully, most or all of that red will come off. And we shall see. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. I do want to keep a little, because that lets me know where I need to drill the holes at, because I'm actually going to be drilling the holes this way. So it's going to be no problem. I was worried that the ink had soaked in a lot further than it had, but looks like I am Doing all right there. Now, I could at some point come by and stain this wood, and those would disappear a lot or show up like neon. It depends on the stain, because stains have a tendency to do weird things like that. But colors over colors tend to do things like that. This little rope keeps wanting to hide on me. Okay, so this is going to be roughly this height or size I need, and I am going to need 6 of these. I've got 3 masts, and I'm going to put 2 sheets per mast. So I need 6 of these cut this length. As you remember last week, I have a Hold'em jar for my pokey bits of wood, so these 6 will go into there. I'm going to use this one to measure out my next 5. And I'm only pulling out 5 because I'm living dangerously. As y'all know, I have a tendency to, when I cut these, one of them is going to go flying across the room, never to be seen again. Okay, so cut these. I want to make sure I'm cutting off the pointy end. I don't want the pointy end on my yardarm. All right. This is the point of the evening where I always ask, anybody out there crafting, or are y'all just hanging out? Either one is good. I am happy just to have people wander by and chill out. I don't care if you're not even a crafter. If you accidentally just found my channel and you're just hanging, that's fine too. But if you are crafting, that sounds really cool. If you are, I do have a Discord, and I would like y'all to go over there and post some pictures of your craft, but it's not on the quiz. You don't gotta. This will go down on your permanent record or something like that, but you don't have to do it. Okay, that is my 6 yardarms. And just like that, all my yardarms are cut. Thank you, good night. That's it. No, that's not it. I'm doing more stuff. Okay. So, for the wire piece, I think I am going to use paper clips, thin ones, if I can find any thin ones. I have a drawer over here labeled paper clips and short wire. And I am going to, now these are super fine little copper filament wires. That's not what I want. Then I've got some super chunky, thick pieces of coat hanger. That's not what I want. I've got some big coat hanger, paperclip pieces. That's not what I want. I've got these little ones, but they're cutesy, and they have rubber coatings on them. I don't want to have to mess with all that. So, got more of those that aren't as cutesy, but still. Somewhere, I am pretty sure that I have some small, there we go. These are the ones. These are the small, thinner paper clips. And I'm going to take these and a couple of pairs of smaller pliers. Okay, 3 pairs of smaller pliers, because that was easier to pull off of the shelf. And I will put that drawer back for now. And this one paper clip should be enough to make all of them, but it might need 2. Oh, that's kind of thick. Let's grab this thinner one. Yeah, there we go. I was organized once, and then I was organized again, and then again, and then again, and then again. I'm not currently organized, but I will be again and again and again. Yeah, that's the thing, is staying organized. So, okay, I got to show off for a second. I have clothes and rags. Below that, I have mesh. I've got lighting. I've got electronic pieces for use in crafting. Those are dead electronics. Those are things that don't work anymore. Most of them are so old I can't find adapters for them anymore. I've got bricks. Bricks is things made out of foam, like tiles and things like that. I've got, I don't know what's below that. What is below it? EVA foam bricks. I've got a thing I call the internet. That's a system of tubes. Below that, I've got a box with more tubes. I've got EPS. That's the crummy white plastic that breaks into all the little white beads. That's EPS. No. EPS is, what's EPS? Yes, that is. That's the crummy white crumbly stuff. That's expanded polystyrene. That's the stuff people call styrofoam that isn't styrofoam. Then I've got below that more EPS. I've got chunks of EPS, scraps of EPS. Over there I've got paper and some different kinds of paper and some other kinds of paper and a bunch of other paper. And then I've got XPS offcuts, and then I've got XPS chunks. Then I've got 2 boxes of things labeled wood, and then I've got a bunch of... It's all got a place to go. I just have too much of it and shouldn't have that much. Less sigh. Less sigh. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about sales. Ooh, let me clear that. Y'all don't need that anymore, I don't think. Let me know if you want this sale picture back up here in a minute. But for now, we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, so now I am cutting these into... Actually, that's a good size. I'm just going to take that and go ahead and cut that off at the same height, length, spot. And, I didn't know my pliers sit on a magnet. They like attach to a strip magnet up there. And apparently they have become magnetized. Not greatly magnetized, but enough to hold that paperclip. Okay, so what I am doing is dropping this paperclip. No, so what I'm doing is I am taking this. I only need a tiny little hole here for putting a hook through. So I am arbitrarily deciding that that looks good. And then I am going to take that and these are jewelers. These are not ideal pliers for this. I should go find my chainmail box. Cross has a box of chainmail? Yes. I have many hobbies. Is all your chainmail stuff in one spot and organized? Yes. You have too much of it? Yes. But I made this myself. Not this one. This one. I do chainmail stuff. Okay, so that seems a good size for the little hooky hole. So I am going to do another one, except then I need them to go straight out the side. So the way I am actually bending these is inconvenient, but I will fix it in a moment. Luckily, paper clips are, I shouldn't be doing that with my hand. Paper clips are pretty sturdy and take a bit of a beating. So I will now take that and grab it right there and twist it. So, okay, that's going to require pliers. Twist it to where... Well, let me do the other one first and then I'll show you. And if you do this too quick, you will snap it off. You do have to kind of go a little bit slow on this just because the metal in the paperclip will heat up and snap. And we don't want that. Then you got to start all over and make another one. And, oh, okay, there we go. Press that flat. That's not quite where I want it. There we go. And I bent it. I mean, of course I bent it. I'm bending it, but I mean I bent it the wrong way. Okay. That is going to be my little hook catcher's part. What's the opposite part of a hook? Eyelet? That's going to be my little eyelet on my mast or yardarm. So I want to figure out how long these are. Remember, I didn't really measure them. I just kind of tossed them up there. Oh, conveniently, they are exactly 9 inches. Who knew? Okay, so I want to barely mark at the 4.5 inch mark. That's the middle part. You see that? Barely marked it. Doesn't matter. Nobody's really going to notice it. Now, I want to, oh, those are magnetized as well. All right, I want to take that little thingamy and I need to attach it right there in a manner where it will stay. So what I am thinking of doing is taking a piece of this ropey stuff and attaching that and then wrapping it 927 times around it to where it'll hold it in place. Now, the problem I have is that super glue does not work for me. I have seen a million people take super glue and stick it on something and have it bond like immediately. That is not how super glue works for me anyway. I have never, ever, 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 not once, not a single time ever had it work that way. I It's not the humidity. It's not the heat or the cold. It's not the type of super glue I am using. It doesn't matter if I'm using gel, if I'm using ultra thin, if I'm using the quick adhesion, if I'm using the kind that is specifically designed to have a working time, which that one I would expect to take a while. It does not matter. I have absolute crap luck with super glue. So I am using this tacky glue, and I am going to hold this in place first. And then what I am going to do is let that sit off to one side and hope it sticks where I want it, and line it up, and then stop touching it, because I have a tendency to be like, is that good? Is that good? And then I'll move it and then break free. So I'm going to take that and attach. Whoa, my glue is trying to come out, which is weird because tacky glue usually doesn't want to come out at all. So that's kind of odd. So as I've told y'all before, I like to leave my tacky glue. Oh, come on. It attached itself to me instead of the yardarm. Because of course it did. No, let go of me. There we go. Okay, I'm going to sit you off to the side. No, this way. Come on. Okay, now sit, stay. Good boy. Okay, so this just wants to leak all over the place. I'm going to use my same diagram cardboard to mush that on over. Okay, so I don't know why it's being so enthusiastic wanting to come out of the bottle today. Usually it doesn't. Okay, I got to draw, or not draw, mark all of these at the halfway mark as well, or close. So I need to push that out of the way and put these here and go to 4.5. These are all about 9. Okay, now I've got, I don't know if I can show you all that. Those are all marked. There we go. Ow, my hand is cramping. I don't know why. I don't know why. All right. I keep saving random junk I think might be good for something, and then I end up having Ziploc bags of mixed stuff. Yeah, the trick is keeping it separately. You have to have enough containers, and you will never have enough containers. I don't have enough containers, that's for certain. Okay, so let's do the opposite side of this. Let's grab one of these, figure out where I want to make the hook hole. Oh, y'all can't see what I'm doing. I'm taking off more of that red ink. Just so it doesn't look weird if I, sit this on a tabletop. I mean, it is on a tabletop. You know what I mean? What, gaming on a tabletop. The tabletop part of role-playing, you know what I'm saying. And it doesn't have to be perfect. A couple little blemishes like this will actually look sort of natural. Okay, now I want to look at the direction that my poorly inserted dowel pin is at. And I want to use that, the angle it's bowed at, like the front of a bow, I want to use that as the front of the mast. And find my same 2 little marks I just made. Okay, that's one's right there. Okay, and okie dokie. I don't know if you can see that, but I made a little tiny mark here and a little tiny mark here. And you just take marks off it. Why are you putting them? I'm about to drill them out. What I'm going to use is a thing called a pin vise. Mine's kind of crummy. There are better versions than this, but small drill bit. This drill bit should be just a little bit larger than this paperclip, and it is significantly larger than the paperclip, so I'm going to change that out. Hopefully I have one that... The problem is, the smaller the bit, the harder it is to get it to fit in the chuck and stay tight. So this one I had to wrap tape around it, and I'm going to have to do that again because I need an even smaller drill bit. Now I could also do this with my roto tool, my rotary tool, but that is I was saying words and they went away. That is It's loud, and I don't want to have to mute y'all to do that. Or mute myself from the part you can hear of me. You know what I mean? I just put the wrong drill bit right back up, didn't I? Yep. This one. Okay, these all go in here. Oh, sorry. I just bashed the microphone, I think. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to take some of these little tape strips off my side here and use that. It's not actually why they're on here, but it's, you know, convenient that they're here. I am going to take that and attach it to this drill bit. And start that wrapping around it. And then we're just going to, nope, that needs to be, got to be really precise on this, because otherwise you'll end up with a little lump and it will hold your drill bit off center, and then you will never get a good drilling. So, all right, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. I really have no way to show this to you easily. I am rolling the drill bit into the tape, and I'm going to roll it until I think there's enough to hold into that chuck, and then I'm just going to kind of guesstimate that that's going to be enough, and then I will cut that off. Look at the end of that chuck, see what size we're dealing with here. The little piece inside the chuck is called a collet, and I am looking to see how big the collet is, and I don't want to seed the collet, but I don't want to be too small for the collet. Okay, so now I've attached tape to the back of this drill bit. There's a little bit sticking off the end, but it's not going to matter. That's going to be down inside the little thing. Or I could, yeah, why not? I'll go ahead and cut that off. This guy used a knife blade and cut straight into a piece of metal. No, I didn't. Okay, so loosen that, slide that down into the collet, which I may have gotten too much tape, which is fine. I can always remove a little. Oh, if I can get it back out. Okay, so need to take the tape I got on there and pull back like a 1/4 inch and do that again. There we go. Get right in there like a glove, like it was made that way, like it was designed for it, which it sort of was. Okay, now I want to take that, find my 2 little marks on this dowel, and let's get to drilling. I should mark this center hole first, but I don't really have anything to do that with, so. Ooh, that dowel. Ugh. The dowel wants to roll away anyway, and my hand is cramping, so this is, I'll get to watch all of the foibles of crafting. Okay, now some of you are probably about to ask the question, why do you go all the way through? You only need a little hook on it. I'm going to put a hook on the front and back, and it's going to be a single wire. That way you ain't got to do squat. I'm going to make a little hook in the metal. I'm going to leave the other end straight. I'm going to run the straight end through, and then I'm going to form it into a hook on the other side. And it will be one piece, and because those little hooks are there and the hole is very narrow, it will hold itself in place with no glue. How long did it take you to come up with that idea? About 4 seconds. I was a carpenter for 15 years, and I have done stuff with my hands since I can remember. So it's just the sort of thing where I'm like, yep, that's the plan. See, you're saying you're just like a natural engineer. Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. You're kind of bragging. Nope. Be like bragging because my hair is brown. It's just the way I am. Okay. Some chain, jute, twine, make rope to the giant project I'm working on. Okay, good. Very cool. Super glue, accelerant spray, and baking soda. I have some spray, like a little spritzer bottle somewhere of water and baking soda, because that's basically what accelerant is anyway. And I literally never bother to use it because it still just doesn't work. Either the glue won't hold. And the instant the two pieces come apart, that's when the glue bonds up. And I'm like, and then I have to apply more and apply more and apply more. I have put baking soda on it. I just have horrible luck with super glue. And I have tried expensive super glues, like $12 a bottle super glue, and 3 for $1 super glues. And it just doesn't like me. This is taking far longer than I thought. I don't know if I'm not pressing hard enough or if the drill bit is just super dull or what. It shouldn't be. I hardly ever use these drills. Yeah, I think I just wasn't pushing hard enough to get it to really drill in there. If this was a good thingamy, whatever they're called, hand drill thingamy, that's not the word. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, then it would have a big flat piece on the back that rotated, and this one doesn't. This one you're supposed to hold here like this and pinch it and spin it with your other hand, which is like just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But wow, okay, my drill bit just sank into my drill, not the other way around. Okay. Okay, here we go. Get the tape off of there. Wow, that was creating a lot of little sawdust. Okay, let's try this again. Put you there. Tighten the schnick out of that. I almost cussed again. Warning, this channel is not for children. I cuss. It's a thing. Oh, and it was it was literally microns from finishing on the other side. Okie dokie. So that is my little drill hole thing. Pin vise, that's what it's called. Pin vise. Couldn't remember. I don't call it that. I call it my little drill. So, you know. Alrighty. Don't glue my yard arm to my gluing surface. Wipe that off. I may not get to the sales tonight, y'all. That's fine. I'm already milking this project anyway. So. Okay, so I have made a hook. Then I need to straighten that piece because it's bent in the wrong spot. So let's go ahead and do that. Probably should have just started with a straight piece of paper clip in the first place, but whatever. I have now straightened my hook. I am now going to take this other end, leave myself plenty of slack, space, whatever. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and straighten the whole thing. That way I know I've got slack, and I might actually be able to get 2 out of the single paper clip. Not that it really matters. These paper clips are, you know, $1 for 100, so they're literally a penny a piece. So this is not the expensive portion of the evening. Okay, so now this hook needs to be at the different angle, so I'm going to hold that inside the hook and then bend the cross piece away from, well, they're all cross pieces because Cross made them. But that part of the cross piece there, that is what we're ending up with. That looks like something like you'd hold fireplace tools next to your hearth or whatever. So that then goes here, and then I need to make another hook like it on the other side. So I will now take this other side. First off, the easy part of just bending it over. Shush, I heard y'all. Sickos. Okay, I'm going to hold that in place there. And then bend that out away from the mast, up around the other side, thusly. And then take these. I'm going to have trouble getting into that spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tougher wire snips. And these are actually diagonal cutters, not wire snips. But my wire snips don't like paper clips. The paper clips tear them up. So I will then take that, cut that off. Those will hold my sails, my yard arms, which I can't show you yet because glue. Okay. But I will take this one and make my next yard arm piece out of that piece of wire I had left over. And we can put that on the next yard arm. We're going to bend that and that, both the same direction. Why do I keep bending these with my fingers and hurting myself when I can just press them against the tabletop? I don't really expect an answer on that. Thank y'all. Oops, I bent that kind of flat. I don't really like that, so I'm going to redo that. So, LC and I were talking online earlier. LC, what did you, Giggles and Beavis and Butthead, yes, exactly. What did you end up making in the smoker? What kind of dish did you have for the dinner? Just wondering why I keep doing weird stuff with my hands. It's because my hand is cramping, like I said. Okay, so we're going to take that and that and good enough. I don't care that much. That hook will hold it. So that little hook, once I straighten it out and attach to the yard arm, will hang on here, and that will support my yard arms. And they will be removable when I'm not playing with them. Yeah, I've got some of the, I just literally threw it away last week because it had hardened in the bottle. I have some of the Loctite, well, let's find it. This, and it didn't work for me either. I did just save one of these caps earlier. That's not coming off of the bottle, but this top part can come off of the cap. I did save one of these earlier, so I'll save that one as well. And that way I'll have like a matched pair if I ever want to make something with the matched pair. Okay, now, where was I? Take this and bend that. I really shouldn't be using my finger for that. That's all right. Okay. This cramp is killing me. The only time I cramp is when I come down here and start crafting. I don't know, and it doesn't seem to do it. My hands don't cramp when I'm standing, but I don't stand during the live stream. I don't know why sitting down makes my hand cramp. Anybody can figure that one out. I appreciate your career in medicine, because I have no idea what causes that. Okay, so I've made another one of those. It is pretty much lined up, and pretty much lined up the other way. And now we will take that and we will glue that to the next yard arm. If I can find where my glue went. Put out a bunch of that on the cardboard there. I call that splubbing, when I splub my glue out on the stuff, or my paint on the stuff. I had a paper clip last week, but I stuck it in my sticky pointy bits box. So let me see if I can find another paper clip real quick. I mean, not paper clip, toothpick. I usually have toothpicks in my pocket, but I don't right now. I did have a box of toothpicks, or a little jar of toothpicks on my desktop. Anyway, okay, let's find the pointy bits box. Here's the pointy bits box. Got to stick those other things in it anyway. So I will reach in here and take my toothpick out if I can find it. You know what? I'm way past caring at this point. I'm just going to randomly use one of these that I said I wasn't going to use. So I will now use this pointy bit for applying the glue this time and not get it all over my stinking hands. But yeah, the non-aerosol super glue accelerants, the spritzer ones, they are basically baking soda and water. That's literally what causes those two things, the bicarb chemical and moisture. Moisture is actually what sets off superglue, what makes superglue harden. That's why if there's even the slightest leak in the superglue bottle, it will harden inside because ambient moisture gets inside. Okay, so this is the one I did earlier. Hopefully it is stuck on here well enough that I can do the next phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of string and dip it just enough in the glue, get it to stick so it stays out of my way. And then I am running it from the center out toward the end, and then I'm going to start on the end and run to the other end and then glue all of that in place. And that will eventually set up really hard and be roped into place. With all of the white glue that's already holding the wire to the wood and this layer of string, and probably more because that looks like it's not going to be enough string. But as you can see, I'm just winding it onto there. Okay, maybe you can't see because the camera doesn't want to pick it up, but I'm winding that onto there, and then I'm just passing over that loop and winding some more. And when I get to the end of my little tea bag string here, I'm going to hold that in place, put some more goop on my hands, and then we're going to wind that into place. I'm just going to smear glue all over it. And then I'm going to do that. I can tell I'm going to have to do that about 3 or 4 layers because that string is not looking like I want it to. This is purely aesthetic because this will hold it because the glue will do most of the heavy lifting here. Literal heavy lifting if you look at it that way. So what I'm going to do is first I'll get the glue off my finger because otherwise I'll end up gluing all of my other strings together. Oops, that dry glue on my hand. I want to pull about 3 or 4 more out of here. And we will wind those on. And there's already a lot of glue on there, so I'm just going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to start from the other end this time. Oops. Start from the other end this time. Hold that in place. Run that string around. Sorry, my huge rope around in scale. And start going back the other way. Smear a bunch more glue on that. I think I'm going to do one more layer on that, be done with it. Now, the only reason I'm starting in the middle like that and then working out is just so it holds the string in place while I start it. That's my entire purpose there. And quote that YouTube channel I like where the guy does all the cleanups in the UK. And just like that, we're done. Okay, a little bit more glue. Smear that on there to hold it in place. Splooge all that all over it. And that is what I'm looking at. And that is the yard arm completed. Now, I am going to try to get a sail attached to this. It is 8 o'clock, and I don't like to keep y'all past 8:30. So I am going to try to get a sail put onto this. Now, that sail needs to be about 8.5 inches across because I don't want it to go all the way to the end of the yard arm. I don't know why. So I decided that I was going to use, not that, oops, this smooth silk as my sheets. Now, I do need to kind of, just in case I ever want to take this down and unfurl them, I want to have about, that is from hook to hook. So from this hook to where the next hook will be about just under 5 inches. So I'm going to make it about 4.5 inches in length. No, just under 6 inches. I'm going to make it 5 inches in length, and it needs to be 8.5 wide. 8.5 by 5. 8.5 by 5. Okay, so I want to take one piece of this fabric, not all of these, and I need scissors. Got a roller cutter somewhere. I am doing nothing to the edges of this. This already has a little stitching. I'm going to leave it. That has been pulled out. I'm going to leave it. This one's raw and cut. I'm going to leave it. I'm not fixing any of that. This does not need to be that precise. So I need to look at how wide this is. I don't think this is, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get two of the 5-inch strips out of this. So that is 13, not quite 13, so that's over 12. So I'm not going to get, yeah, I need to take that and cut that at about 5 inches, which is going to be about here. Y'all can't see that. I'm sorry. I'm marking with a pencil. The shininess of the graphite is barely visible on the black, but it's visible to my eyes from the angle I'm at. If y'all cannot see that, I apologize. So I am going to run that up this entire piece of fabric. And the way I am going to do that is I'm going to pull that down here. And I was thinking that I was going to cut that with scissors, but I am not. And this line right here is the last place that I have it over 5 inches wide. It's actually 10 inches wide, but I'm going to cut it in half in a minute. So I'm now going to take my straight edge, figure out exactly where the, well, that was impressive, 5-inch line is, and where my mark is again, that's here. And I'm going to take that, sit it on the 5-inch line, and I'm going to hold it really securely and take a hopefully sharp knife and gently, because if I pull it, it'll snag the fabric and try to move it. So I'm going to go through this on several passes. But it is silk, so of course it wants to be an absolute pain in the butt blade-wise, because silk is tough. If I had a roller cutter, I would be using it. But I do not. I do. The blade on it's dull enough that calling it a blade is really overselling it. It's really a hubcap at this point, a washer. Okay, that's close enough that I can finish it off with it. Everything wants to stick to everything magnetically now. I can finish that the rest of the way with scissors. And this part I am not saving. I've had this for probably 30 years, and it's served its purpose many times. It has been shirt. It has been different kind of shirt. It has been part of a costume. It's been do-rags. For those of you who don't know, that means a thing that goes over your hair. Now, I want to take that probably a shorter straight edge and cut across. Not this cross. I know, my name's Cross. That joke never gets old. Wahaha. Wow, that cut really smooth the other direction. That was weird. Okay, so now I want to take that and okay, that is not going to work. I didn't know it was a sewing class. Well, it's not a class. This is how, this is not how to do, it is how I do. I'm sorry, I'm not reading the chat very well tonight. I am quite concentrating on this one. Okay, and that is close enough. Okay, now I want this to be 8.5. So I am measuring on these. By the way, there's little squares on this board, and each one of those is an inch, in case you're wondering how I'm doing this without really measuring. Okay, 8. This middle one is 8. I'm just going to use it just because I don't want to do math in my head. And a half. 8.5. Now, I already know this cuts well across. So, take that knife again. And I am not being super precise on that whole 8.5 thing. That's just, Okay, and then that's 2 of my 6 sails. And four of my 6 sails, and the other 2 sails are actually a different length anyway, so we'll be doing those on another night, or actually I'll have them down by next week or whatever. Okay, so knife away for safety. You here. Take my 1 yard arm. Take my sail, and this way. It's wider than it is long. And if you will look on the picture, let me bring that back up. I don't know if you can't see my pointer. There's little pieces that hang down from the sails with ropes attached, and that's the bottom outside corners, and those hang down so that you can unfurl them quickly. You'll notice there's little ropes attached to those. I am going to account for those. So I need to take these, and basically I'm just going to bunch these up. I need a string ready. I had one extra out here somewhere, but of course it has wandered off. Oh, there it is. So, oh, there's 2. Even more better. Okay. And then these will get bunched up like this. I will take one corner and pull it down like that. And then I will tape the rest, tie the rest of the thing to the yardarm, which is here. And so that will then be here on each one, tied with one of these strings. I'm going to do one quick pass of that. And then call it a night. Because y'all don't need to sit here and watch me basically tie my shoes. Okay. Actually, I'm going to start in the middle because those, I don't have to account for that corner. I'll get to those in a minute. So, when you pull up a sail, it doesn't roll. It sort of gathers back and forth. And then the lashings hold it in place. So I could even roll these up and no one would. Actually, I think I'll do that. I'm going to roll these up and then I'll just pull the corners out at the last little bits, but I need to roll it tighter than that. So well, you could just use less fabric, yes, but I do want it to look bunched up like sails. Now, those in that picture are done really, really super professionally well. That is not necessarily what they look like every time. A lot of times they are more bunched looking than that. So I'm going to take this amount here, and that's going to go around the yardarm and the sail. And for ease of tying it, I'm actually going around 3 or 4 times. Actually, twice, I guess. Because this is shorter string than I thought. Or circumference takes it distance, yada, yada, yada. So I am actually good at tying things when my dexterity, when my hand isn't cramping, which we've already covered that this evening. Okay, now I'm going to tie this in what is called a, what's the actual name for it? It's not a reef knot. On land, we call it a square knot. At sea, they don't call it a square knot. It's called something different. But that is what I'm tying it on. So not technically, for real, that knot is not coming undone. That is not how you should tie sails. I'm tying it for this one because I don't have any plans to ever unfurl this. So I can then tie this a couple more times. And if I really, really got excited about it, I could take some glue and put it on that knot to hold it in place. But to be honest, I don't think it's ever going to come loose. So that needs to slide back over a little. And you can see why I made it 8.5. Because it's going to be just about the right size. I can get that. Okay, I need to slide the sail through that lashing I just made. Lashing sounds like it should be the action, like you're lashing it down, which it is, but it's also called a lashing. So that sounds grammatically weird, but that is the word for it. It's not a lash. A lash is this part. It's already been lashed. It's the same sort of argument as why a building's called a building and not a built. Okay, let's get these out of the... Come on now. This is the easy part. Okay. Now, when all is said and done... Ooh, that's not going to work. Let's show you here. When all is said and done, this yardarm is going to hang on this hook like... Well, I'm going to have to move the camera again. Like that. Only lashed all the way across. I'm going to put about 5 more lashings on this, 3 on each side. So that's really it. And hopefully that is the plan. I will have all of that done by next week and we can move on to something else. I have no idea what it'll be next week, but it will probably be something with this ship. So yeah, that's it. Let me read the chat, catch up with what y'all have been saying, and then I will run off. Let y'all run off is what I'm going to say. Yeah, Archimedes screw, that works like a, what's the thing, a Yankee screwdriver? I need a really tiny Yankee screwdriver, but is a drill instead of a screwdriver. Yes, that would be a good thing. Heat a nail, use it to burn a hole through the dowel. Yep, that would also work. I could do that. I've got a Dremel. I've got a Dremel and another brand called Ferrex, which is a handheld, which is a... My Ferrex is battery. My Dremel is power tool, way more than I need for this particular operation. So I can get through these things. That's not an issue. I was just trying to do on camera that without deafening y'all. Yeah, twisted wire ropes work well. I've got 957,000 of these strings, so I figured I might as well use them. I drink way too much tea. I drink more tea than any Yank has a right to. Every time I read about the Boston Tea Party, I'm like, no, don't throw it out. I understand why they did. I understand why they did. But all that poor tea, so sad. Okay. So, see, I started tying knots when I said I was going to read the chat. All right, square knot. What's the other word for a square knot? I'm trying to remember. Not reef knot, is it? Is it reef knot? Is that the right word? I don't know. It's not a granny knot. That's what I'm saying. Granny knot is the other side. Okay. You hate the gel and the brush on. Yeah, oh yeah, I can see how that'd be a problem. That's the same problem I had when I was using the hardening inside the container is the same problem I had every time I've tried to use contact cement when I was doing cosplay stuff and building armor and things. The moment it's open, it's immediately wanting to not be a liquid anymore, and it will harden within a day. And yeah. And I have something chemical that stinks. I thought about mixing some low yield rubbing alcohol with bicarb and running it through a pump sprayer. Yeah, that would also work. Yeah, but you don't actually necessarily want the water to evaporate because the super glue, the water won't push the super glue out of the way. The super glue will stay where you put it, and then when you put the moisture on it from the spritzer, that will you want the water to stay because that's what actually activates the super glue, and it will evaporate soon enough anyway. But you can put alcohol in with the water and baking soda just to facilitate the water and bicarb going through the spritzer. But you're probably still going to want to clean the spritzer out after each use anyway, just because every time I've tried to use a spritzer for anything, it always clogs by the next time I use it if I don't clean it. It's the same sort of concept of always clean your airbrush or whatever. I don't have an airbrush, but it's the same concept. Okay. Oh, I never did turn the thing down, so you're not watching me paint all or tie all these little knots. Okay, so as you can see, that's going to be lashed onto that, and then that's going to hang on that hook on the, come on now, on the mast. And so those are going to be my sails. That's it. That's the whole thing. Ta-da! That took an hour and a half. Yay. So I should have those done by next week. I will try to put some pictures up on the Discord. Y'all come to the Discord. There's Discord links in the down belows down there. So come look at the Discord. All righty, let me switch this light off. Okay, and then switch back to my front camera, and I will see y'all off for the evening. So, thanks for coming, watching me have hand cramps and futz around with stuff. I appreciate it. This has been Campaign Terrain. This is what I do. It's super chill stuff, always in miniature. If you ever want to talk about anything gaming or anything miniature, come hit the Discord. Links in the down below. I will be here every Sunday. I am also going to be putting out non-live videos again soon, and got several lined up ready to film. I know exactly which ones I'm doing. So those will be coming out as well. Yeah. Anything in miniature that you're interested in, I want to hear about it. Anything you're interested in that you don't know about and you want to know about, I'm happy to tell you what I know or point you to some people that do know what they're talking about. We are all in this together. And I just know that I love you. And until next time, I wish you luck in your campaign, whether it's on a tabletop or out there in real life. Thank you for coming. Thank you for putting up with me tie little knots. And I'll see you next time. Have a great night.